What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. Now, with this video, we are going to be jumping back into the Milestone universe with some Static issue number 3. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with this line, if you haven't been keeping up with everything going on in the Milestone universe, go ahead and check out the links in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on in this line. Now, if you're a huge fan of Static, you probably noticed that there are some changes to the overall origin story and to the overall lore of how everything transpires. And what we've seen throughout Icon, throughout Hardware, and throughout Static is that we have seen Bang Babies created. A gas canister administered during some protests. This canister created a situation where individuals started to gain superpowers. One of those individuals, of course, being Virgil, aka Static Shock. And with him getting in contact with his old science teacher to try to ask for any kind of help, not knowing that this is Hardware, he lets him know that there is a location that he can go to and gather anything that he is going to need. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 3, we are picking up with Francis Stone. And after being captured at that rally that happened, after it being busted up and him being one of the individuals that got brought down, he is now being interrogated. But as they interrogate him, we're learning how much of a punk this guy really is. Because to get his freedom, to be able to clear his name, he is willing to give up every single Bang Baby that he knows of that went to his high school. And of course, this is going to pique the interest of the government. If they're able to locate, track down, and isolate every single one of them, this gives them all of the freaking power. But that's what's going to take us to Hardware's secret stash. And we have Static currently inside of this building with the police on the outside. Because Hardware, he is currently being investigated, being blamed for the entire Big Bang thing going off, being blamed for the canisters that created all of these new mutants, if you will. All of his places are being raided. Now, of course, they believe that this is Hardware, that Hardware is inside of here, not knowing this is Static. Static, not wanting to have his identity given away, he makes a decoy distraction, and this gives him the opportunity to slip away. And as he is slipping out, the smoke doesn't last as long as he was hoping. And the police officers, they're able to see him, but he puts up an electromagnetic field. As they start to unload on him, as they start to shoot their guns at him, all of the bullets are stopped in midair. And this is where he learns that he has an ability to be able to control metal. Not necessarily control it, but move it. To move it in different directions away from him. And this is where we see him change the electromagnetic properties inside the guns, and he sends them flying to infinity. This gives him the ample opportunity to be able to escape. And as he is making his escape, he runs over a sewer drain, a storm drain. And in doing this, he realizes it starts to float off the ground. This gives him the idea. And for the first time, we see Static fly. Taking this sewer drain, he goes up into the sky. Duffel bag full of new goodies from Hardware stash. He makes his getaway. Now this is when we pick up with Daisy and Darius. Darius, he's been watching the news, watching everything going on, saying that all these new people with powers, they're the bad guys. Saying that they're dangerous, they're hostile, and they're all being led by one individual. One individual that goes by the name of Holocaust. Saying that he is the one that perpetrated everything, he is the one antagonizing everything. The news and the media are labeling the kids of the Big Bang and anybody who was affected as bad guys, as the enemy, as terrorists. And this is one of the biggest things that worries Daisy, because this is where she shows that she has powers. She exhibits them to Darius, and in exhibiting these powers, you can see the worry, you can see the concern, the straight up fear that she has in her face. And more than anything, she wants Darius to help her find a way to get rid of these powers, to reverse these powers so she no longer has them. But Darius also informs her that she needs to lay low, that she needs to not tell anybody about this. Because as it stands, it looks like the government is picking up Big Bang babies, grabbing all of them any chance they get. And so for the time being, they need to lay low and they need to lay quietly. Now, picking back up with Static, he's going through his loot. He's going through everything that he gathered and was able to pick up. And going through all this, he finds a lot of interesting things. A vial of kinetic metal, a pretty flame retardant suit that's going to help the next time he goes against Francis. And as he's putting all of this together, as he's thinking about what he's going to do, he's thinking that he wants to do some kind of vigilantism. He's thinking that he just wants to help people. You know, he grew up checking out anime and comic books and all of these things. He always wanted to be a superhero. But when he got older, he realized that this doesn't actually happen. There's not billionaires out there in suits helping the people. There's nothing. It's everybody fends for themselves. And so maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it is time for a hero to rise up from the ashes and help the people, help the communities. And this is where we see him getting to work on a new costume, busting out the sewing machine and just getting to work trying to create that perfect look that he wants. And this is where we see his first costume. This is where we see Static at his first. Now, his family really hasn't talked since they found out he has power, since everything happened. More specifically, him and his father haven't had much of a conversation. And so thinking, it's finally time to have that talk, Static, he goes up to the roof where his father is currently putting up some more shingles after everything that happened. And as he puts up all these shingles, they have a discussion. And his father, he really tells him, I can't understand what you're going through. I can't begin to understand what it's like to have powers or anything like that. But at the end of the day, he's telling him that he supports him, that he's there for him, but he worries about him. And Static, he just wants to make some change, to do some kind of better in his community and for the people around him. And so because of this, he asks his father to continue the martial arts training that he had been teaching him. That he wants to be able to learn how to fight, to be able to defend himself, especially now in this day and age. Especially with these new powers, it's only a matter of time before something or someone outside of Francis comes for him. And as him and his friends, they all start to paint the house, they try to make it look better, we're really just seeing a great moment. In all of this chaos and all of this trauma, we are seeing people be able to come together and be able to find some kind of happiness, find some kind of joy in everything that has transpired. But that's what's going to pick us up the next day, with all of them returning to school. But this day is much different than any other day, because this day, we are seeing agents crawling all over the place. We are seeing police officers all over the place, and they are targeting and isolating individuals, not giving them an opportunity to call their parents, not to call for any kind of guardian or anything like that. They confiscate their phones and they take them into custody. Now, as Static is making his way down the hallway, this is where Darius grabs him and brings him into the closet, saying that they need to lay low, that he needs to stay in hiding, because right now, they are looking for Bang Babies. They are looking for the Big Bang Babies with the help of Francis Stone. And this is where we see Francis completely suited out, appearing to be working for the government now. And that is where this issue will end. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think these have been great stories. If the Milestone universe isn't for you, then it's simply not for you. But these stories are really diving into some serious issues and more minority and more impoverished communities. Now, I'm not saying these issues don't happen in white communities or anything like that, or even in rich communities, but these things are much more common in these communities. We're seeing them either over-policed or under-policed, and usually a lot of people are having to fend for themselves, and they're feeling alone. I'm an individual that grew up in extreme poverty. I know exactly how it feels when you're feeling like you're alone, when it feels like your government, it feels like nobody actually cares about you. Especially when you're a kid, you're a teenager, you don't really understand the ins and outs of the world, you don't understand how everything works. The only thing that you understand is there's so many people that have so much more than you. And so Virgil, he's taking that anger, that frustration, the trauma that they've just endured, and he's transforming it into a force for good. He's going to make his community better. He's going to help the people in any way he can. A way that nobody else would. A way that nobody else is helping them. You know, and that's the great thing about any superhero story, is that you get the opportunity to tackle some serious issues, not necessarily making a direct correlation, but more or less putting up a mirror and showing you this is what society looks like and this is what society can be. That you don't necessarily need a cape and superpowers to make society look like this. That we can take examples as these writers create stories that really give us the lead on how we should treat one another, how things should operate, and how our government should treat the poorest of communities. So for me, these are strong, very powerful messages, while at the same time telling such a great story, and not necessarily a reinvention of Static, but a retelling of Static. Stories that may not have gotten as much sunshine back in the 90s, but during 2021, these stories are freaking top notch. They are getting 100% of the attention that they finally deserve. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.